Hello, everyone, and thank you for joining us for this penultimate session in our National Drama SEN conference, Building a More Confident and Inclusive Space. We're joined by Lana Selby, who's a drama therapist at Cambridge School in London, which is a special needs school. She comes with an absolute wealth of experience. So, I'm very excited to be hearing, some of her strategies and some of her things that she's had working with her very specific learners. Again, at the end, there'll be time for questions. Please feel free to write things in the chat and have yourself a fantastic time. Lana, over to you.
Thank you very much. Hello, everybody. I'm Lana. I think I'll be taking my glasses on and off. I've been waiting in the green room the whole day, so I hope you've been having a stimulating and interesting day as much as I have. This is our almost final act. I'm also not used to, I'm totally used to being on the screen. No, only in my imagination and fantasies. I'm actually more used to obviously being in front of people in person. So this is kind of a new experience to see myself on screen without a makeup artist, ha ha. So I'm not putting on any PowerPoint presentations because I'm a technophobe, and you know what? I'm actually pretty proud of it. The fact that I actually managed to get out of black and white and come to color, yeah, yay. I don't care. I'm in my 50s and I can't learn new things. This COVID has been enough of an experience. Anyway, I'm gonna take you along on my journey. I also talk very loudly. So if am I talking too loudly, Chris?
No such thing in a drama.
I'm going to take you.
No such thing.
Yes. I love projecting. I'm going to take you along on my journey as I reminisce and explore. And more importantly, what I want to do is to encourage you to trust the drama and your skills. We'll have a discussion about best practice and strategies in our virtual shared space. And I want you to listen out for some sprinklings of strategies that I'm going to put throughout my presentation. So my journey started in Cape Town, South Africa. I was the girl who practiced winning the Oscar Award for best performance in a lead role or a supporting role if I was feeling less, more gracious. My bedroom was my stage, and the highlight of each school year was me being cast in the school production. It took until I was about 17 in my final year of school to be cast in the leading role. And in true showbiz style, I fell for my leading man, who remains the first love of my life alongside drama. I followed through with the drama, and the leading man and I were still friends, even in our later years. I engaged in drama classes outside of school because my school didn't offer drama as a subject. Lots of them didn't at that time in the 80s. I auditioned for drama school at the University of Cape Town, and I was told, you're good, but there are too many white candidates this year. I was this privileged white living in apartheid South Africa. Reality hit me, woof. This was apartheid South Africa. Everything was dictated by law and by race. My family were quietly relieved. She can do law. No, I said. So I enrolled on the BA English and Drama with my sights on doing the 4th year as a postgraduate teaching diploma. Law, I don't think so at all. I put my acting desires to the side, hoping I'll pick it up again later in life, and not so secretly, I probably still want to when I'm much older. There were very few teaching jobs in about 1991 in Cape Town in schools. And my first teaching role was in a mixed heritage school. In apartheid South Africa, people who are of mixed heritage were defined by the apartheid of white Afrikaners in power as coloreds, obviously a derogatory term now. And ironically, people still use that term, even South Africans to this day. During apartheid, society was defined by racial laws. Schools were divided into race groups. Children from different races went to separate schools. kept apart, keep apart. The school that I got a job at, very luckily, was so poor, underfunded, and under-resourced that I stole stationery from the lawyer's office where my mother worked. The thief who should have been studied law. The students, or pupils as we called them those days, came very willingly to school, sometimes barefoot, even in the wet Cape Town winter, often with knives to protect themselves. They loved drama. Ancient Greece and theater's beginnings were a world away from their impoverished lives. The syllabus did not include the vast richness of African culture. It was a white man's version. It was whitewashed, apart. But I was fascinated with the physicality and the rawness of the Black actors I'd heard about and would later see on stage, John Carney, Winston and Shauna. I was obsessed with Athol Fugard. So Athol Fugard is a white South African playwright and a director who really captured the South African apartheid era in plays and themes and characters they're both moving and they're very painful sometimes to witness. So I taught drama in English because that's my first language. My colleague who studied with me for 4 years at UCT delivered her lessons to another class, their first language all being Afrikaans. The mixed heritage community in Cape Town, their first language is Afrikaans, which is ironically the language of apartheid, but it's also the language of the mixed heritage community, which is mainly vast in Cape Town. My colleague of mixed heritage, she studied with me for 4 years at UCT. And we had no budget, no resources, and I just continued to steal or borrow because that was the only way that I could do it. We fantasized about being followers of Bertolt Brecht. I think I read The Empty Space so many times I could quote from it. And in fact, I do have a quote. Empty Space, Peter Brook. That was like my book from when I studied drama, and it actually still remains one of my most favorites. And the quote is, "I can take any empty space and call it a bare stage." We incorporated mime, dance, movement in our lessons. We rose above language and restrictions, just like we felt when our heads rose above the police tear gas amidst the student riots against apartheid that defined our university days. I feel like I've blanked out a bit of memories of growing up in South Africa. And now that I've been a therapist for a while, I think that maybe that comes from a bit of shame or the overwhelming nature of the legacy and personal trauma. Either before that job or after, and I should have asked my mom, I was part of a theatre and education company. I earned crap, but I felt like I was in Hollywood, Africa would. I felt like I'd made it. We were filmed, we were interviewed for a news program and radio, and everybody I knew missed my 15 minutes of fame. The company performed plays about the impact of AIDS virus on South African communities. We performed in school car parks or in enclosed quads in the school buildings, or on fields or on roads with the glistening tar in the summer sun. The theatre and education was a prelude to post-apartheid Rainbow Nation aspirations. We were performers of representing every race in South Africa. And for someone who had gone to an all-white school and wasn't able until I went to university to mix with people from other races, this truly felt like a very transformative experience. Not apart, but together. With the backdrop of apartheid South Africa, I learned how theatre and drama brings people together. Its intrinsic inclusivity, its energy, its exploration, its possibilities. And it's within this context that were the beginnings of collecting, gathering ideas, techniques and skills that have guided my careers. The students I taught drama to in South Africa were victims of apartheid, or apartheid as they used to call it. Families separated by laws, absent fathers who lived away from home to find work, mothers who were maids, because that was the term used, in white families, maybe only seeing their children some weekends or maybe in the school holidays. Students whose needs were not being met. Appropriate educational provision was not available to them then. I worked in a bookshop when I couldn't find further drama teaching work because it was kind of scarce. I read a book about art and drama therapy, and I felt this almost relief that I could get out of Cape Town for a bit and go and travel. Well, so I envisioned. I thought I would return to South Africa, which I obviously haven't 28 years later. I grabbed my savings and I came to London, the land of theatre and opportunity, much to the derision, I don't know if that's the right word, of my mother, and I then had a stepdad who were completely appalled at the idea that I was heading by myself, poor girl, all alone to London, after living in lovely, insular, white world of Cape Town. I wanted to combine my passion for drama with my curiosity in psychology and psychotherapy. I was, and I remained, fascinated and interested in the therapeutic quality of drama. Drama's always been my safe and happy place. My father was ill throughout my childhood, and he died when I was 20. Drama was my refuge. It filled my empty spaces. I was both the therapist and the client in my own drama therapy, and I didn't even know. Drama therapy, just briefly, kind of exploits creative distance to explore and express feelings and emotions safely in contained and a non-judgmental way, using the medium of drama for the purposes of expression, exploration, and catharsis. Whilst I studied intensively for my 3 years on my therapy course, which one of the only benefits was I lost loads of weight, I also taught drama and ran a drama department in a mainstream school, and was also followed by some time in both mainstream special needs and PRUs teaching drama whilst I trained to be a drama therapist. Phew. It was a little confusing at times, but I did learn how to manage the different roles and the juggling acts that I was doing. The more therapy work I found, the less I taught. The common denominator was my use of drama in my work with children, adolescents, young adults, older adults, with a wide range of mental health needs, cognitive impairments, learning difficulties, on the autistic spectrum, global delay, a lot. So before BC, before COVID, I like saying that, I'm sure I'm not the only person doing it, but it's my little term. If we weren't virtually sharing this room and rather together, physically in a circle, it was so weird to say, let's make a circle. We could not make a circle on Zoom, but we can metaphorically. What I would do is I would facilitate an experiential experience now. 2 words drama teachers should not be scared of at all. I do get a little dark pleasure watching other people squirm though. I mean, you know, experiential exercises are now used in business and everyone's steals from all of us drama teachers. Now it's all in the business world, everywhere. Everyone thinks, oh, role play. It's like we've been doing it for years. So what I would like you to do is to actually, if you like, because I've been talking a little bit, sprinkles of strategies. I'm going to have a stretch. You can have a stretch. Let's do a little bit of a movement break. Stretch it out. Have a yawn. I can't see what you're doing, but that's okay. Okay. Now let's do what we do really well. Let's imagine. Oh, I didn't mean to slap the table. We're going to bring to mind the students that we work with. So you're bringing all your students into mind, but what I'd like you to think about, if you narrow the frame, think of those who've been identified with having needs. And I'm just going to ask you to put into the chat I will not ask anyone directly. I'm just letting us just share stuff. If you could just put into the chat, what are the needs? I'm gonna just rattle on a little bit talking. Just think about the needs of some of you, and you can focus on one or two. Don't focus on all of them. That can be confusing. Just focus on one or two and identify their needs. I'm going to really generalize now. Do they have cognitive needs? Do they present with slow processing or poor memory? Do they have emotional needs that you have been told about? Do they maybe present as not present or slightly detached in the sessions? Are they defensive or hypersensitive? Do they have sensory needs? Does a lot of noise affect them adversely? Do they need to move a lot? Do they need fidgets? Are they on the autistic spectrum? And as Mel was saying before, if you've met one autistic person, you've met one autistic person. So everyone has their own individual needs. Do they have behavioral needs? Are they hyperactive? Are they disruptive or challenging? Are they self-sabotaging? Do they feel quite disengaged? What are their needs? Okay, so I'm going to have a quick. Thank you for those who put in the box. So what we're doing is we're just thinking about the different needs that our students have. And now we're going to think about how did they present in your lessons? What do they respond to best? Have you asked them? And I'm asking you a lot of questions because I'm trying to reach the focus point, which is engagement. Who's your audience? Mel was talking about teachers as having roles. So who's your audience? Get to know them. And that's what Karen was saying too. Get to know them, because when you get to know them, you can collaborate and you plan. And this leads straight to the heart of the matter. My first love, always, always, drama. This is where you trust the drama. Because this is in essence what my conversation is about with you. It's about trusting the drama. It's what you know. And the answers, the magic, Chris is going to love this. The answers, the magic, the plan, the strategies, the techniques are right there in the drama with you and your relationships with the students. Because the way that I best relate to thinking about drama with students with special needs and learning through role play is from a relational perspective. And what I've done when I've been thinking about this talk is I keep a pencil, a pen and a piece of paper next to my bed because I always seem to have ideas when I'm sleeping. I kind of wake up and like with a, whoa, oh, I think Chris might like this. Don't worry, Shelley, purely work-based. So the way that I best relate to thinking about drama with special needs and learning through role play is because this is my experience. So I'd like to look at something from a relational perspective. And if anyone wants to have a giggle, because I refuse to do PowerPoints, they really creep me out. Maybe it's from, I can't stand them. So please don't laugh. But this is something that I made earlier. Can you see it? I'm such an... Okay, so this is what I know. This is ridiculous, but I'm just like that. So what I would like you to do is to bring to mind 3 interlinking circles. 1, 2, 3. Each of the circle I've named. This is so old school. What the me is the drama teacher. The other one is drama, and then there's student or students with special needs. Because what I'm asking you to do is to think about the spaces in between as relationships. So we're thinking, what is the student's relationship with you or me? What is the student's relationship with drama? What is my relationship with the student? What is my relationship with drama? So that's my little unpatented relational perspective. So we're thinking about those shared spaces as relationships. Good, healthy relationships are reciprocal. They move on trust and feeling safe. Students with special needs want and they need this. So let's think about your students' relationship with drama. Drama is a social construct, I think. It brings people together in creativity. For some young people with social and communication difficulties, spending time with peers is a struggle. Some may even have stronger relationships with adults than they have with their peers. There's an ask here because there's an ask here to do stuff with others. And this can be experienced as intimidating or scary or overwhelming or not, because this is my experience. It can feel natural. It can feel quite fun and freeing and easy. So when you think about the student that you were thinking about before, when you were thinking about how they present, what's their relationship with drama? It's like, do they like it? Do they engage? Are they hesitant, reluctant? Are they slow joiners? Do they watch others and feel encouraged by others' engagement? So if I were to give voice to positive responses that I've experienced, it would be that some of the students I've worked with, or people with special needs, it would be about exceeding their own expectations sometimes by participating, perhaps doing something for the first time, which brings a huge sense of achievement. So there's also something about the exploration of self. I can do more, I'll speak as if I was a student, I can do more than I thought I could, despite and in spite of how different I might feel. There's also a realization that I can concentrate for longer than usual. My parents, my teachers would never believe this. I'm actually concentrating on something. I can show that I do understand and that I do empathize. I can pretend to be someone else and something else. I can see things from different perspectives. So we're just thinking about role play here. I can figure stuff out. I can problem solve and find resolutions. I can choose to opt out. I can choose to opt in again. I can go into role. I can go out of role. I do know the difference between reality and fantasy. That's another myth buster. Oh, that child has no idea about reality, Lana. He's always confused you. There's no idea between fantasy and reality. Well, I beg to differ for lots of kids that I've worked with. I can be with others for a particular purpose, for a specified time, and I can be appropriate in my interactions. I can behave. I'm developing my social skills. I can laugh with others and be a part of something, not on the periphery. And of course, there's the less comfortable experiences. It's too noisy. What's the point? I don't know what to say. I'm bored, or no, I'm not getting involved. So, of course, everybody's different. Everybody comes with their own responses and reactions to this experience. And I've just mentioned a few. But what I'm really keen to talk about is how drama has a multitude of layers. And Karen is talking about the same thing. Yeah, tick. We got a green light for go. There's an intrinsic, inclusive, and integrative nature to drama. It's containing and it's structured. Whether tight or loose, there's a framework. And you're aiming for that clarity within that framework. Because clarity reduces anxiety and stress. Clarity invites comfort. There are boundaries. There are beginnings and there are endings. Role play, whether it's improvised or rehearsed, has a structure. Drama exercises have rules. Within these structures and the rules is your space to experiment. We all know the same drama techniques and exercises. I speak to newly qualified drama teachers, and I qualified in 1990. It's the same stuff. And I don't mean that, that's good. Look how long they've been lasting, way before 30 years anyway. But what we do is we might not recognize the names, because I've named every single drama exercise and technique with my own name. Otherwise, I'll never remember it. I've got my own little names to identify every single thing that I do. And I don't think it's cheating. It's because the same fantastic drama texts are still around. Because and I think this is where we have a lot of evidence base, because it works. And it's been around for so long, you don't need to change it all the time. Obviously, we have to adapt, like to technology, which obviously I'm really bad at doing. But anyway, everything that we've studied and everything that we've learned, and can I just say, Chris, I'm very cleverly only think my talk for a certain amount of time, so there's be lots of time for discussion, because I can talk for Africa, and now Africa and England. Everything we've studied or learned can be adapted or tweaked. As Karen said, exactly the same. You're adapting, you're tweaking to encourage engagement. And I say this because this is what I've been doing. So I'm saying all of this based on my experiences practically. We can take away and we can add. But more importantly, before I go to my box of strategies, is there's always a backup plan. I've always got a backup plan, because the backup plan is what you need when things need to move, when something gets stuck and you need to move something on. And if you're a drama teacher, you have got so many backup plans in your head, you don't even know they exist, but you need to find them because they're there. And that's what I use. If someone says to me, oh, can you think of what happens is you start drawing different exercises for different things. So if you get stuck or a student gets stuck, you need that toolbox right now. And this is where it comes in with your relationships. If something works, you do it again, because you trust the drama for your options and your alternatives to further support your students in engaging. So I've got some strategies and techniques, and then we can move on to like a discussion, if that's okay, because I think it's important that people have their voice. So I'll give you some strategies and techniques, and then I'll kind of link them with the kids that I've worked with, who have a variety of special needs, from a social skills group with autistic boys in a special needs school, to working with using drama in PRUs, as Karen does, to working with children who have huge emotional difficulty and experiencing trauma. So these are some of my go-to strategies, or I wouldn't say strategy, I suppose, yeah, techniques, and how I feel. This is my evidence for trusting the drama. Establish and sustain familiar or similar beginnings and endings. This is very comforting, and it's predictable, and it provides consistency. Start simple and work your way up, step by step, which is particularly effective with warm-up exercises and character development, step by step. Ironically for me, talk less, show more. That's probably the one I've struggled with the most my entire life. But actually, I probably knocked it on the head doing therapy work, because you really do have to keep quiet quite a lot. And sometimes I'm like, I really want to talk, but I can't. Well, I shouldn't really. So you're aiming for less, because this is, I'm a bit of a minimalist in my life, but actually I'm a minimalist at work. And I think working with children with special needs, you really have to go for the minimalism approach sometimes. And that is about one focus at a time if you can. A lot of focus is just too much stimuli, and that, that's quite unhelpful. Another thing is, don't take anything personally. Oh my God, I could write a book about the comments that have been addressed towards me. Some of them are pretty humorous. Some of them are incredibly coarse. My favorite one is a child who is completely obsessed when I go gray. So COVID, when I had gray up till here, and I couldn't go to the hairdresser, and school came back in March, and hairdressers only opened in April, he was appalled. So I never need a reminder when I need to go to the hairdresser, because he goes, and yes, I could take that personally, but you know what? That's his way of interacting with me. And I know it sounds like a weird excuse, but this was a child that took 18 months to come to the therapy room, because I had to establish a relationship with him first. So this is about communication, and this is about relationships. And it's irrelevant that I was doing the drama therapy work with him. I'm talking about how, just relating to certain children, where you really can't take things personally. I mean, I've been called an effing bitch so many times, I couldn't even count them, but I'm still around. Allow for active or passive engagement. I'm really, really quite keen on this. Let students be audience members if they want, if they're reluctant or reticent to engage actively. Let them observe and reflect back. And sometimes you slowly watch them creep into more active engagement. Nurture the non-acting roles and the activities, the script writing, the designing, the costumes, the props, the sets, the directing, the tech or the sound. And experiment with formats. Interviews are so contained. Forum theatre, I just love forum theatre. So, in forum theatre, you've got the audience so much in control there, because they're stopping the action, they're starting the action, they're giving voice to the characters. And sometimes some of the children I've worked with special needs, they don't want to be necessarily on the stage, not necessarily, in the stage, but they might say, what might this character say to someone else? So forum theatre is really helpful with that, in that sort of way, because the audience can lead, stop, restart, provide the dialogue for the characters, and then decide on the plot or where the narrative's going to actually. Often they're children who may be stressed or anxious, and they get on a real tangent. I'm a completely tangential person. I wrote this whole thing out, this talk, so that I wouldn't go on a tangent. But when you're nervous, sometimes you do. Or when you have some learning difficulties and there's a lot to process, you're off on a tangent and you ruminate. So it's always about bringing the person back to the present moment, just bringing the children back, saying, I understand, let's focus on this now, really gentle. Let's bring it back to the present. I'm really into mindfulness, so that's kind of exactly, Roy. A quiet child does not mean he or she's engaged. That's exactly. Passive engagement is a different way of learning, and often with children who are quiet.
Sorry, Lana, it's Vivian.
Oh, hello. Oh,
hi.
Oh, hello, Roy. Vivian. Thank you. Yes, absolutely. And it's just experiencing the different children. And that's why this is what I'm saying is drama is evidence, where you have opportunities. So you have the techniques of mime Or you have opportunities to provide children who don't necessarily may want to be verbal. You have so many non-verbal opportunities for them to engage, or to just sit at the side and watch. When I was doing the social skills group with autistic boys, and the one kid was always on the side, always passing a comment, even quietly or maybe to himself, but he played a tremendous role in reflecting back actually what was going on. And slowly but surely, that was his role in the class. And often different children have played different roles, and it doesn't mean they're stuck in a role. It might be the role they're most comfortable in, and maybe time will tell that they might move to another role or not, and that's okay too. For improvement for concentration and attention, shift the energy to reset the focus and behavior. Sometimes you need a movement break, and that can be as easy as we're going to freeze, or we're all going to touch the walls, or let's do a stretch. And it can be so quick, but it just to reset some stuff. And you got to be on your toes. I mean, teachers are always on their toes. Drama teachers are got 5 eyes and 5 ears. You're like listening everywhere, and you're focusing everywhere. So when you can see something, what's the rush? Just stop it for a moment. Take a breath. And I've really learned that it's okay. Have a breather. Sit down for a moment, or stand up for a moment. So the non-verbal techniques that I was talking about, the mime, slow motion, tableaus, what they call tableaus, freeze frames, still lives. Those work beautifully in starting or capturing something, and they work beautifully with non-verbal language. Some autistic children, there's also autistic children that I've worked with who find, sometimes they're children who find it very hard to read non-verbal language. So this is also a way of helping them. Sometimes they can't read non-verbal, or sometimes children have huge difficulty in reading social cues, but you're really helping them out when you're giving them these opportunities in the drama. And then for clarity and reminders, it's about, you can mark the space, use stickers for characters' names. My kids love it when I give them the opportunity to use a sticker. And I work with a boy who has cerebral palsy, and he so loves taking the sticker. He only has the use of one hand. And I find it, I'm quite touched whenever he grabs the sticker and he removes the sticker and he puts it, and it sometimes takes a long time for him to take the sticker off the actual sticky thing. And that's how he loves thinking about characters. So I'm just reading the thing. Oh, Kira, yes, yes, I'm getting there. And as Karen was talking about props, pieces of costumes, they're tangible, they're tactile, and they really help with character development because they're right there, they're concrete. They're like, oh, this is something that a character could wear. Oh, I like the touch of it. Oh, that's nice. And actually what Shelley was talking about, this whole idea of not being able to manage change. I completely agree with Shelley, and I'm completely on the same page. Things change all the time. Nothing is the same. Attachment isn't the same. Everything changes, and we'd be doing a we wouldn't be helping kids if we disservice. That's the word. We were doing a disservice to children, of all children, if we didn't encourage that we'll help you out because we know the change is coming. Look at COVID. That was a massive change. Huge. And children obviously still adapting to it. So it's about explain, be very clear about what's coming next. We're going to do this, or we're doing this, and then we're going to do that, so that they're in control and they can process the sequence. I'm a huge fan of relaxation and breathing and mindfulness techniques. I know that it's not everyone's cup of tea, but I think most people who've studied drama would really appreciate relaxation techniques. And I think they're incredibly important. And there's a lot of evidence based that they can be really, really effective. Oh, sorry, that was my alarm. That was my alarm telling me to do 40 minutes. See, I'm very boundaried. But just if I can end off by saying that what's more important is about individualizing and making your own. And Karen mentioned this too. You need to put your own stamp of approval on your work. And I'd like you to, just before I end, and then we go into discussion, because I've left lots of time for discussion, which is quite sneaky of me, but I thought quite clever at the same time, is to think about your relationship with drama. I know what mine is. I'm totally codependent. I can't think of my life without drama. It's such an intrinsic part of my life and my identity. And I'm just wondering, you don't need to, you can be anonymous. I was just wondering what it's given you. And I'm going to start this chat off. And I'm going to put, my mother said, I'm the best liar in the world. And the reason I'm the best liar is because I can improvise to the hilt. In fact, I'm improvising right now. What has drama given you? Well, what have you taken from your experiences of drama? Totally. So we've got confidence, escape from the gray world, confidence, empathy, communication skills, awareness of others, an ability to reposition myself and my thinking, endless excitement. Think of what you can do. You're creative, you're imaginative. And what do you need for working with kids with special needs or working with any children? You are so flexible, you don't even know it. You are very adaptable. Confidence, comfort, catharsis, fulfillment, rooting me to the world. We have these beautiful relationships with drama. So you've taken the theory, you've taken the practice, and you're putting it all into your work and into your relationships with the students. You're role modeling. You're in it. Students with special needs can be predictably unpredictable and challenging. They can also be predictable. Welcome the surprises and the unexpected. Avoid underestimating them and yourselves. Trust the drama. Trust yourself. And now it's time for us to be in the sharing space together. So I'll take a movement break.
While Lana's taking the movement break, I'd like to, and I'm on behalf of all of you, that was wow. You know, I've been lucky enough that we've had a chat about this before, so I'm always leaving any time talking with Lana with just a sense of real power. But that was amazing, and I think it's the rawness in which you speak, and it's the honesty and it's the truthfulness that it makes me actually a little bit jealous that I'm not one of your learners, because I feel that that's exactly the kind of power that you give them. And in many ways, I look back slightly embarrassedly on my own practice. I'm thinking, actually, I need to do more of that. The thing that you said initially about linking between, the me, my subject, and my learners, that's amazing. There's so much research about the biography of the teacher, that we so often ignore that me part. We sort of go, oh, it's not professional to have the me in the room, or I love my subject, but and you've highlighted so well that actually we kind of disable ourselves if we take away one of these strings. We limit what we can provide, and that's a really huge thing that you've got us thinking about not just a dual identity, but it's like this quadruple identities in some cases, especially if, you talked about your initial experience, changing contexts and, how that affected, your way of thinking, and I think, we live in this world now where we're looking to decolonize the curriculum, but at the same time, this point that you made about not throwing out the baby with the bathwater, these techniques work because they work, is also a powerful point as well. And I think that was really, really exciting. So the one thing I will take away from this, and maybe it's part of the discussion, is actually, how can we, with all the stuff that's going on in a mainstream school, for instance, I'm talking about my own context, how do we rebuild that positive association with the subject, not necessarily with me as the practitioner, because we're very good on the fly at creating positive relationships with our students if you're a human being. But how do we, post-COVID, build those positive associations with drama as a subject? And we heard from Karen when she was talking about, changing the name, removing any potential negative associations. So I think that might be quite interesting, actually, is how are we planning going forward to build those positive associations between our learners and our subject? If anyone wants to unmute themselves, have a shout at that, or type in there if we're not feeling excited. I'm sort of, my eyes keep going towards Gertie in this kind of hope, this sort of, Roy, if you as well can, sorry, Vivienne.
Oh, hello.
Oh.
Sorry.
Oh, hello.
So I unmuted and I couldn't hear what Chris was saying, and I couldn't hear if anyone was jumping in because there was a shouting baby. Sorry. I didn't hear some of what Chris said, so I might repeat it. But I wanted to say that we've been listening in, but I've realised I had to be muted on video because of this shouting baby. But we were listening in, and I loved all of that. And I just wanted to generally big up everything that you said. And it was amazing. But also I wanted to comment on the young man who comments on your grey hair. I think I might know it would be him. And just talk about the importance of time scale and how long it takes to kind of build up a relationship, and in the weirdest ways, but then the amazing things that come of it. And it might take months, or God, how long was that with that student? But just how the benefit of these weird connections that you make, and then magic happens. It might take months, but something amazing happens. But I was basically just listening in and nodding vigorously the whole time. That's amazing.
Actually,
but you
Lana,
couldn't
that's
see
the
my
point.
nodding, Lana.
I think that I have the advantage of, I know the context there. If we call this boy Rory, for instance, who dislikes going to assemblies, and
Oh, yes.
yeah,
Yeah.
I think one of the stories there would be quite interesting to discuss Rory.
Do you know that?
Go, Lana.
Yeah, if you explain
He
how
knows
that
these
came
things.
about.
Sorry, Chris, what was that a question for
No,
Lana?
just about that. You've got a pupil who is incredibly anxious about the idea of having their name called out, and you've got this, school policy where they're given awards in this assembly in front of the school. And, yeah, and Rory would basically have to be frog marched into the assembly hall, but through drama, able to be in role and therefore be able to take part. So I think that process would be quite interesting.
I can't remember the exact details, but I think it definitely falls into one of those, what is not really a story. It falls into one of the narratives where if you have a relationship with a child and you are able to help them to feel more comfortable in a situation, and you are using something that they feel safe and contained in, and that doesn't have, a negative consequence for them, but it's something that allows them to be able to manage in a situation. It was, it's almost, I think Shirley probably remembers the exact details, but I mean, staying in role allowed him to just sort of refocus on that, on the experience of being in a really uncomfortable experience, which was having his name called and being asked to collect a certificate, which seems like the most ordinary thing.
Yeah, I was going to mute myself because I'm too noisy and I didn't want to take over, but I know now what Chris is talking about, and it was an amazing event. It actually made a teacher cry. It was so beautiful, and it was because of something that had happened with Lana, where in a good way. So this student, we didn't want to go up in assembly or collect a certificate or anything like that, and because of some work we'd done with Lana, and a bit of role play, he was able to come up. Oh, sorry, we're happy. It was very loud. He was able to come up because he'd learned how to be in a kind of zombie role. He was a zombie, and it was something he'd done with you. And he kind of went up in role, and he was able to go up in role to the front of assembly because he'd been comfortable doing that in class. And otherwise he would never have been able to do that. But because he'd learned to do it in class, he just sort of assumed that role. So it was amazing. I will mute myself now because we're quite a noisy bunch here. Sorry.
I think probably what that plays up to is about how children, you know, we're always encouraging children and we're helping children to manage and cope with different things. And I think that we need to be really sensitive. You know, that's what I'm saying. It's about, you really need to know, to get to know a child. And in some schools they've got TAs, and TAs always have like some wonderful, especially one-to-one, they really develop a fantastic relationship with the children. And maybe it's, you know, when I was going to do this relational thing, I was thinking, oh God, does that sound corny? And I am, anyone who knows me, I'm the least corny person, and that I know. And I just think it's really important. You know, I've spent a lot of my life, and I don't know if other people have this experience of being so defensive about being a drama teacher. You know, honestly, it can be utterly exhausting.
Yeah.
You know, oh, do you stand up and pretend to be trees? And I'm like, yeah, that's exactly what we do. And I think that whole narrative has hopefully changed, because I spent a lot of my 20s and my 30s defending, and then I spent my 30s, my 40s and my 50s defending arts therapies. So it does feel like it feels so bizarre that art and culture is so intrinsic in our lives. When it got people through the pandemic, everyone was Netflixing. I mean, what is that about? It's about allowing yourself to be in another world and learning from that and being inspired by other things. It's like, I don't think people realize how drama and theater is so intrinsic in their lives, even if they think they're just a football loving person, because the drama of games and just being and pretending you're someone else, or if those feelings. So yeah, I'm going on about it. I just needed to say that. I hope the new generation of drama teachers don't have to be so defensive as I feel my year was, all this time defending yourself. Oh, but we do this, oh, but we do that. I think we've got enough evidence. You know, you're talking about the future, Chris. There's so much evidence in the world of how drama is. I'm not talking about the therapy side. I'm talking about at school. How clear it is that children benefit positively from the experience.
And I think
I feel under
a
such
very
great
important point.
pressure.
No, sorry, Gertie, please.
Yeah, since Chris has picked me out and said I needed to speak, I will say one thing, and that's basically, I think there's something else that you communicate, Lana, which I suspect all the other drama teachers that I can't see here also do in the classroom, which is totally vital to our effectiveness wherever we are, whatever context. And that's, I think, our enthusiasm in what we do and our belief in it. Because if you don't have that, then everything else is not there. It's no point.
And that is why
you communicate it.
But that is why, I mean, this might be incredibly controversial. I'm a real, you know, I get the when they just say, oh, anyone can do drama. No, actually they can't.
God. Yeah.
And I have yes, of course people can go use role play in their things. I'm not against teachers who are not drama teachers using drama techniques. I'm not saying that. But I do think that if you're trained as a drama teacher and that is your skill, and that is you know, no one ever says, oh, anyone can do science, because the science teacher would actually object to that. And I've always been big on that. And I'm a snob, and I'm a proud snob, because I worked very, very hard to become a drama teacher. It wasn't actually a smooth, easy ride. Drama, it touches you. It can be emotional. It's you know, and so I'm a total snob when it comes to people saying, oh, anyone can. No, they can't. And that's why I'm saying, so thank you for inviting me to talk here, because I really wanted to say to drama teachers, you earned your position by your incredible hard work and passion and all that you know, because you know a lot.
I think again, that's, I mean, I'm looking at the time. We've come to the end here. We're going to go into the panel discussion in half an hour, but it's a powerful point to end on. And I think it's actually a beautiful full stop there, is that idea of, you know, that you know, the human side of this humanities subject, this art subject, you know, is sometimes overlooked. I mean, Mary's written in the chat about You know, we still have to defend ourselves. And I think what's potentially, if we want to look for positives and we take Lana's words and we run with it, is that if we get involved in the sort of core subjects debate, we're onto a losing track. Because I don't know if I want drama to be a core subject. I don't know if that's our place. And I don't know if fighting for that is important. Because I find, you know, working in schools, that the core subject debate tends to be one about, you know, literacy and numeracy above all else and knowledge above all else. And it sort of strips drama of its power, strips of its what it makes drama very, very powerful. What I would say instead is that, like we saw with Mel's and the idea of, you know, the importance of play, about, you know, if you want to use the arguments of, okay, we must be efficient in education, well, surely moving forward, the evidence base, as Lana refers to, is this of emotional well-being being the driving force for recovery. And that, you know, if we talk about, you know, parents, educational leaders, and those stakeholders there, you know, we're coming now with this evidence-driven approach. And I think if we stop being so apologetic. I mean, many drama teachers talk about the fact that why is it that, you know, music tends to get so much more than drama, is that in '88, when the decision came about to, you know, put music on the national curriculum, that's because the music teachers and the music, you know, the people that were pushing it, you know, they were unapologetic about music education for music's value. You know, they weren't bothering, you know, oh, music is science, music is language, music is art. No, music for music's sake. And I think too often drama teachers have been beaten down into this space that, you know, we have to sort of play into the little pegs and sort of we have to find links and cross curricular. You know, this is our time to go around and go, no, drama for drama's sake, and it's worthy of doing it just because. And I think if we start from this room of having that rally cry and take the things that Lana and others today have spoken about, you know, we will be in a much better place. So thank you again, Lana. I'll do another massive virtual round of
Thank you.
what you've said. I'm now going to stop
Thank you.
we're going to hear the beautiful voice again.